the guardian of the worlds presents The Escape from the Cave.
The day 30th of the month of Maximinus of the year 41st after Universal War. With the New Year festivities being a bit more cheerful than the last time, we did not have to present ourselves to the courtyard for our daily training sessions, which gave me some free time. I have been reflecting a lot on everything that happened during our mission at the Swartab Cave, and I have finally taken a decision. Who knows what the future holds, but I am ready to act on my resolution, no matter the consequences. However, before I delve into the thoughts that have been circling in my mind, I need to finish explaining how we managed to escape from that cave that had become not just our prison, but nearly our grave. As I was saying the other day, thinking my end was near, I closed my eyes with the only hope that my death would be quick and painless. For a moment, I thought that I might finally reunite with my parents and siblings in Endurance Kingdom, and a strange sense of happiness washed over me in that critical moment. Nevertheless, that moment seemed to stretch into the longest of my life. I even remember feeling the air grow unnaturally cold, despite being just a few feet away from the lava stream flowing beneath the floor. At the same time, I heard a profound silence, broken only by the roar of that creature as it brought its heavy weapon on me, with nothing and nobody to stop the inevitable. Fortunately, I suddenly felt a strange energy fill the room, followed by a desperate scream and a tremendous explosion. When I opened my eye to see what had happened, I saw the creature on my right, its body embedded in the rocky wall, defeated by some fierce attack.
Sot, are you okay? We've got to get out of here,
said Yakren, rushing toward me, clearly agitated. I can't move, I bumbled, using the little strength I had left. Realizing that I had not passed out, my mate quickly grabbed the axe that had fallen to the ground, determined to finally retrieve the gem that had cost us so much misfortune. After securing it in one of his pockets, I heard him rousing Ish and Arus, urging them to leave that place as quickly as possible.
Sot, come on, get up!
Insisted the veteran warrior. I really can't, replied I, as best I could.
Then, like we say in Hive, if it ain't happening, make it happen,
said he, hoisting me onto his shoulder with his strong arms.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
I had thought that we had defeated that creature, assuming so when I saw it lying motionless after Yakren's attack. But I was grown again, and before my companion could finish his sentence, we all heard the creature stirring again, letting out a thunderous roar that made me fear the worst.
Run!
Shouted the veteran guardian, his tone clearly showing the desperation of our situation.
Buckle up! It's gonna get rough!
Anxiously, I watched the creature, wondering what it would do to stop us from escaping. Then, the two young warriors unleashed two powerful energy spheres that, though I didn't know it at the time, were keen allowing Yakren and me to escape through the opening that supposedly led outside. Once we crossed through it, I looked back at the hole connecting the room where my companions still were to the narrow passage through which we had just escaped. I waited impatiently for Ish and Arus to appear. What was going on? Why were not they following us? Had that creature defeated them again? With each passing moment, the sight of that opening became smaller and smaller, and I still could not see my companions coming through. As the seconds ticked by, desperation consumed me more and more, making me forget the terrible pain from my wounds, until I could not take it anymore. "We need to go back for them," I urged Yakren.
"We've got to get out of here,"
replied he, still agitated. "But Ish and Arus..."
"I'm sure they can make it."
Hearing this, a wave of helplessness washed over me. How could Yakren, who I believed to be our leader and guide, leave two of us behind without caring if they survived? For a moment, I desperately wanted to go back and help them with my own hands, but I barely had the strength to move, so all I could do was accept the harsh reality my mind had created, that Ish and Arus had fallen to the immense power of that colossal beast. To my relief, just before the opening disappeared from view, I saw two tiny flashes, one blue and one red, that reassured me they were safe and unharmed. Assuming the creature's enormous size would prevent it from squeezing from the narrow space where we were, I thought it was all over. Finally, with the gem in our possession, and racing toward what seemed to be the exit of that terrible place, a feeling of peace washed over me as I enjoyed the breeze against my face. But my relief was quite brief. Each warning to Yakren to pick up the pace made me realize that the worst was yet to come. Suddenly, I heard a strange noise coming from all directions, which alerted me and apparently unsettled Yakren as well, judging by how he quickened his flight. It was as if the walls around us were starting to tremble. I could barely tell what was happening, and I suppose the mystery was what frightened us the most. The situation forced us to act on instinct, and we were clearly in no condition to face any more enemies or obstacles. Seconds later, I heard a series of shrill screams coming from the room we had just escaped from. I quickly realized that, in some way I still do not understand, the other creatures inhabiting that place had been alerted to our escape and were coming to capture us. I could see those horrifying monsters getting closer and closer. At that moment, I wondered what kind of creatures were those that could move so fast, even faster than my companion. But when Ish and Arus caught up with us, I understood what Yakren's problem was. Karimi was slowing him down.
"We're almost there."
I heard him murmur to himself as Ish and Arus passed us.
"Just a bit more."
Looking ahead, I saw a bright light, but when I looked back, I realized that those creatures were less than 20 yards away from us. It was only a matter of seconds before they caught up. Only the gods knew what they had intended to do with us. A wave of guilt hit me. If it were not for me, Yakren would already be out of that cursed cave and would not be in this situation. Moments later, I noticed our pace quickening, but it was not enough to leave those creatures behind. They were still closing in on us. Finally, they were so close that one of them managed to touch me with its long, pointed claws. A terrible sense of horror washed over me, the feel of its disgusting touch when, suddenly, we broke through the exit.
"Rocked, watch out!"
Jacqueline shouted as he sat me down on the ground. Outside, my three companions positioned themselves in front of the exit, while I, far from feeling safe, kept my eyes on the crevice. It was only a matter of seconds before those gruesome creatures appeared, and a fierce battle would begin, one that I was not sure we could survive. However, despite the warning, neither Racht nor Jehud, one of the most veteran disciples, who I do not know how or when he arrived there, seemed phased. After a few seconds of looking at the crevice, surprised that none of those horrible beings had shown up yet, I realized that the noise of those creatures was barely audible from where we stood.
"Congratulations, gentlemen,"
Racht said with a smile, clapping. Confused, I looked at my mates, hoping one of them would understand what was going on, but they seemed as perplexed as I was.
You have successfully completed your first mission.
And those monsters?
Just illusions that my friend and fellow disciple Yehud created with his power to protect the gem. We are glad to see you were able to overcome them without too much trouble.
Are you fucking crazy?
Asked Yakren again, as Arus held him back.
Sot nearly got killed in there.
That is true.
Racht said, giving me a sympathetic look.
He still has got much to learn. But I believe this experience shall serve as a valuable lesson. And remember, what does not kill you makes you stronger.
Honestly, the sparkle in our mentor's eyes made me realize the joy he felt at seeing us return safely. But I could not say the same about his companion. That man, dressed in orange robes that contrasted with his dark skin and thick hair, kept his clean-shaven, sharp face marked by the wrinkles of age, grave and serious, as he observed me from the corner of his eye. Without knowing why, I got the impression that he did not like me. I want to believe it is because he thought I was not worthy of being called a warrior like my companions. Otherwise, what other reason could he have had for giving me such a severe look? Despite the tension lingering in the air, Yakren took the gem from his pocket and tried to hand it to our mentor. But Yehud snatched it away as if it were a treasure and swiftly tucked it into his robe. Then, Racht, standing at the center of us all, struck the ground, and within seconds, the vision of the cave and the dense forest surrounding it gave way to our dear longed-for home. With Yakren's help, I joined the rest of my companions as we headed towards our quarters. As soon as I entered my room, I collapsed into my hard mattress, ready to rest. But just seconds later, a group of women, whom I had never seen during my time here, arrived with one of the elegant and serious stewards. These young ladies could have easily killed me at that moment, as I barely had the strength to move on my own. However, after helping me take off my tattered and dirty clothes, they began applying strange ointments that made my eyelids grow heavier until I fell into a deep sleep. I thought I had only slept for a few hours, as it was still daylight when we arrived and the sun had not set when I woke up. I was utterly shocked when I learned how long I had actually been resting. Startled by how fully recovered I felt, I went to the mirror in my bathroom and, to my surprise, saw that all my wounds had vanished as if by magic. I felt as good as new. Intending to take a walk around the area, I left my room, but I had not gone more than a few steps when Yakren's voice stopped me.
Where do you think you're headed, kid?
Asked he, with a mischievous smile that piqued my curiosity. What's happening?
Nah, just good to see you looking better. 'Cause sleeping for 2 days long got your strength back.
2 days! Shouted I, credulous.
We had to push back the meeting with Arus and the disciple twice, 'cause you wouldn't wake up. I even started thinking you were dead, not just sleeping like we all thought.
Meeting?
Yeah, we gotta meet with them to get feedback on what we need to fix in our training, so don't wander off too far, 'cause we gotta be there soon, now that you're back on your feet.
Without saying anything more, he went into his room, and I, postponing my walk for another time, returned to mine. While I waited to be called, I sat on my bed, staring out of the window. But all I could do was recall everything we had endured during our mission, and relived the horrors I had faced until one of the stewards arrived at my room and requested that I join my mates in the main hall. I shall not go into the details of that session, as they are not very important. What matters is what happened afterwards. Once the meeting had concluded, and I had returned to my quarters, I left the doors light ajar and observed as the 12 disciples, as was their custom, made their way together to their respective rooms. Seizing the opportunity, I quietly departed my room and proceeded to the main hall, where I presumed Arus still remained. Indeed, the grand black doors of the hall were still opened, and there, standing behind the semicircular table, with his back to the entrance, was Arus. I stood watching him, pondering what thoughts might occupy his mind as he studied the vast projection of what appeared to be the stars and planets of our cosmos. So engrossed was he in his task that he did not appear to notice my entrance. At least, that is what I believed until he suddenly spoke, his gaze remaining fixed on the image.
I surmise that after this journey thou dost harbor some doubts,
said he to my surprise. How do you know? Asked I, incredulous, as I approached the table.
I did perceive it in thy countenance during the council,
replied he, finally turning to face me after making the magnificent three-dimensional map disappear.
Therefore have I awaited thee in this chamber. Now speak, young Sot, and tell me what doth trouble thee.
Master, during our mission, I finally dared to say, still unsure if I really wanted to discuss this topic. We were brought before the gem. We were all stunned by what we saw. But Yakren told us to forget those visions, claiming they were just mental trick by those wicked creatures.
But thou canst not forget, canst thou?
That's right.
And what didst thou behold?
For a moment, I lost myself in thought, recalling those horrible images I could not even bring myself to describe. I saw suffering. I saw despair. I saw war. I saw death. I saw a universe plunged into chaos.
I comprehend.
But that's not all, Master. Those creatures seemed confused when they presented me before the gem. It was as if they expected me to be someone else. I remember their confused expressions when they saw in the gem the same things I did. It was the same look I watched on your face when you gave me the pendant, said I, placing my hand on the amulet hanging from my neck. For a second, silence filled the room. I supposed the Guardian of the Worlds did not know what to say to what I had just revealed. Meanwhile, I held my amulet tightly, gathering the courage to ask the question that, deep down, I already knew the answer to, but did not want to hear. I'm not really the Guardian of the Light, am I?
I would not speak thus,
replied Arus with a paternal tone.
The trust placed in thee by all here doth bear witness to that. Perchance thou needest but time and training to awaken the full measure of thy abilities.
That phrase, delivered in such a flat, monotonous tone, felt more like a response meant to encourage me than a genuine opinion. Indeed, everyone here trusts me. But what about you, Master? Asked I again, sensing the doubts my presence stirred in him.
Mine own self? Young Sot, I follow naught but mine instincts,
answered he reflectively.
My father once teach me that a wise ruler hath no need to perceive the intricate workings of fate to know his course in every matter. I have heeded this wisdom until thou didst arrive here. Since that time, I have beheld many things thou wouldst scarce believe could come to pass. The truth Dear Sot, is that fate is oft most capricious. Yet thou hast not to fear. We shall guide thee along the path we deem best for thee. Only remember whence thou comest and what thy purpose is.
I appreciate your words, master, replied I politely, then left the room after bowing to him. As I made my way back to my room, I kept thinking about the last thing he had said. As a former prince, I knew that what mattered was not all the flowery words the Guardian of the Worlds had uttered, but everything he had not said. Clearly, at no point did he confirm his trust in me, which made it clear that his answer was negative. That is why, since that day, I have been planning my escape. Why should I stay in a place where I cannot make progress in my mission and only waste my time and energy? During our mission, I thought I had left my princely life behind and had willingly embraced becoming a warrior. But who am I kidding? I barely know how to fight. That is why tonight, taking advantage of the New Year's celebrations, I will escape when everyone is asleep. This way, I can leave this world and set out in search of that terrifying monster that nearly killed me. As Ura said, I might not forget where I come from and what my objective is. I'm the Prince of Baldis, and my mission is to destroy the monster that killed my family.